And that is the difference between you as a journalist and the ordinary citizen who is capturing the same event that you're covering, but they don't have the same responsibility. They don't have the responsibility for verification. They could say what they like on the spot and say, boy, the fire broke out in my television and people run. Your reporting requires you to verify facts.
So recently I had the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to interview Caribbean journalism icon Julian Rogers at the Connected Caribbean Summit. We spoke for about 30 minutes, but it was the very last question I asked that I think he had one of the most insightful and in-depth responses that I'd ever heard on the topic. It was the type of answer that can only be given by someone who has decades of experience in regional and international journalism. And that topic was storytelling. So let's jump into the last 10 minutes of our discussion and get some deep insight into Julian's take on storytelling in journalism. Lastly, I wanted to get your take on, there was a certain time, and they probably still do it, where they would refer to news as a news story. The idea of telling stories, the oral tradition, has been a part of the Caribbean for a very, very long time. How important is storytelling to you in journalism, and do you have any particular way that you like to tell stories?
It's interesting that you describe it in that way, because people are saying, oh, there's news stories, but the storytelling is a rich tradition in the Caribbean experience. And I've been particularly pushing the fact that the Calypsonian, for instance, is a storyteller of the first line. He's the anchor long before, I was anchoring the news, or anybody for that matter. So that the storytelling hasn't changed in that the key elements remain. Something has happened. Why has it happened? Who has it affected, right? And what is the impact of that particular development for people beyond that? I always say to people, look, every news story has a number of stakeholders. If there's a fire, let's say there's a fire downtown, who's affected? Right? A business place is on fire in downtown Port-au-Spain. So customers of that particular enterprise are affected.
Yeah.
Okay? The people who work there are affected.
Employees.
The owners are affected. Okay? The fire service is affected.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the fire service reached and they realized, boy, the hydrant not working, man. Right? Or the hose not long enough. Or the ladder not tight enough. Right? So all these stakeholders are affected, and the economy is affected. Because there are no taxes going in from either the employees or the company as a result of the fire, because they shut down and they have to look for a new place or whatever the case may be. They have to find money, and the insurance company is involved, and the insurance people taking long to pay up the money and whatever else. You understand where I'm coming from?
Right.
So that one story that you think is just a fire is firing off in many directions like fireworks, because of so many people and so many interests are involved. That is the storytelling that we don't get right. It's like one guy who was a journalist, who was a top journalist in Trinidad, I had to stop him from doing live reports, right? I said, please, if he calls in and says he wants to do a live report, tell him, no, he's not going live, he's going on tape. You know why? Because what he did in one instance is that a fire broke out in Port-au-Spain. He arrived at the scene, immediately picked up his phone and called and said, I'm ready to report. Right. Now, he didn't talk to anybody. Right? He didn't talk to the fire chief. He didn't talk to the businessman who was standing outside with tears in his eyes. He didn't talk to the workers who would say, boy, we can't go back in the building. We know when we can get another work. Right. So how could he be reporting?
Right.
What could he tell me? When did the fire start? Was, you don't know what caused the fire. So there's speculation, right? But you have to ask the question of the fire officer on duty and say, do you have any idea how this fire started? He would tell the boss it's too early, right? Or he would say they had an explosion. That's all I've been hearing from people next door, things like that. So you have to gather information first before you can say, I'm reporting live. It's best you go on tape anyhow. because you're going to stop and start, and you won't get it right first time unless you're really, really good. And not everybody is good at one take Charlie. It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
So I don't know. I keep telling people that there are certain basics within this thing of storytelling. And the storytelling, depending on what the circumstances are, can be very interesting and like they're human interest stories that really hit you first, right? Another time is a disaster story, and there's so flooding in Digamachi. Nobody get washed away. The human element in there of people being affected, right? His family, the close family, extended family, his friends, co-workers, you go down the list. All these people have a stake in the fact that this man gone. There's a story to tell, but there are stories to tell over time. In other words, he gone, right? What happened? What happened? Why the flooding? Yeah. Nobody cleaned the drain. What happened? The corporation didn't do their work, etc. And you just go down the list of looking at the things that are all connected to this one man drowning. Right. And the story doesn't end today because there's recovery to be dealt with, right? There are questions to be asked of the corporation, there are questions to be asked of the government, and so on. You can go on and on and on and on over a period of time. So, storytelling.
I find you describe it in such a fascinating way. And here's the thing that is impacting me about the way you describe it. When you said you have to talk to the workers who are now displaced, you have to talk to the business owner, you have to talk to the general public, you have to talk to the fire officers. It's almost like...
And the bystanders.
Yeah. People who observe the thing, they're going to have information and things.
Right.
Earlier, when you were finishing your interview, and you were just about to exit the door and I ambushed you, right, to come back in. One of the things that you were talking about is the fact that just regular people with phones are now reporting.
Yes.
They are not taking the time to get those perspectives. They are giving their opinion along with the story. These two things...
And that is the difference between you as a journalist and the ordinary citizen who is capturing the same event that you're covering, but they don't have the same responsibility. They don't have the responsibility for verification. They could say what they like on the spot. They say, boy, the fire broke out in my situation and people run. Your reporting requires you to verify facts with those people who can verify. Fire service, the owner of the property, the people who work there, eyewitnesses, immediately, the police. Verification is your job. The people who pick up the phone and film something and share it all over the place, they have no responsibility whatsoever. None whatsoever. You can't go and take a picture of somebody lying in the road and show the face and the blood and whatever else and so on. You can't do it. Yeah. You can't go and interview a child and put that on with the child face and whatever else and so on and so on. You cannot do it. It's against all the rules, right? When a person when a family is grieving and so on, you can't just go and chuck a microphone in their faces and tell me how you feel. And you put it on and you're giving all their grief all over the damn place, as the case may be. You have to be sensitive. You want to tell this story, you have to say, look, this family is distraught to the point where some people will say, look, I'm prepared to go on camera and to share my feelings with you. Other people said, no. But you still have to report. The family is grieving with the loss of so as the case may be, right? The story we're learning is that so. So there's a responsibility, which is very important in storytelling. You want to tell the story, but you don't want to injure people in the telling of the story, which I think is the sensitivity that you must understand. Right? Yeah. The public's demand for gory details is not your job. Your job is the facts of the situation. There was a fire. 10 people out of jobs today. This businessman has lost all his property. He can rely on insurance. Well, he may tell you, I don't have any insurance. You can report that. The business owner says he does not have insurance. He's got to start from scratch. He's lost everything. And he's worried about what will happen to his employees. He's sensitive. He has a heart, as the case may be. All right. Somebody has lost their house in a house fire. How are you telling that story? A family tonight is literally homeless. They got to rely on their family and neighbors for a lodging until the government responds with some kind of accommodation, etc. They lost everything. They need clothes. They need toiletries, right? They need school books because the 2 children in the house now lost everything, etc. Those are the kind of specifics that I think a journalist has to be looking out for, because what that does, it helps in the process of help. In other words, the help is not only coming from the government and the government agency, it's coming from people who care. Yeah. So somebody with money hears that story, just drives down there very quietly and says, look, don't worry, I'm looking after you. Here's some money, here's some stuff. They don't want any no publicity, no fanfare, as the case may be, but somebody's taking care of. You know, you with me?
Yeah.
That's our job.
Yeah.
That's why we have to get it right.
Yeah, I agree. I feel that.
Take the time to get it right, because it matters. And the other last element is that this is for the record. Somebody must look back 25, 30, 50 years from now and know that this story was right. This event happened. These are the details. These are the facts.
Thank you so much, Julian, for sharing your decades of experience. What is 78 now?
Yeah, 78. I started when I was 16.
16? Oh my goodness.